Hi everyone, happy Tuesday. I'm hoping that you can see me this week. I think I fixed it for now. Today I want to tell you about inflammation and sleep and what are the main sources of inflammation and how it affects your sleep. But first, I want to start off by saying that I see not being able to sleep as a health issue. So if you can't you aren't healthy. Even if you care about your health, even if you eat healthy and you exercise and you take supplements, a healthy body should sleep well. And so if you can't sleep, then there is something more going on. There's just more to it. And so, a lot of times we think of ourselves as being really healthy, and this is what I used to think too. In fact, I am known in my community for being all about health. Ever since I was in my 20s, really, and started learning about nutrition. And then in my 30s, I was really advocating clean food. I worked on an organic farm. I was a board member of the Slow Food chapter here. I worked in the supplement department of a local health food store. I was really passionate about outdoor activities. Like, that's a perfect picture of health, right? So how did I get to where my body wasn't healthy and I couldn't sleep normally? And it's because even though I was doing some healthy things, there were plenty of unhealthy things that I wasn't doing. And this is like how we live in our society today, right? Like, we drink coffee to wake us up. I drank plenty of alcohol. Yes, I wasn't an alcoholic. I was just a social drinker, and that happened to occur 5 nights a week most of the time. So I definitely drank too much alcohol. I over exercised. So I thought that all these 5 hour bike rides and all day backcountry snowboarding tours were really good for me, but they aren't good for you to do that all the time. I definitely lived a busy, stressful life. I was always on the go. I always had stuff going on. I ate out plenty. I definitely had some jobs I didn't like in the past. I would settle for relationships because I was scared there was no one better. So I spent a lot of time in really unhealthy relationships. I've experienced trauma, mainly when my mom died 15 years ago, and I didn't always take enough time to rest and relax. And so over time, this built up in my body. And then I spent a winter in Nepal and India, which was an amazing time. But I got a parasite there, and I can see after that is when my health started deteriorating little by little. Minor things that I didn't think were a big deal, but it got to the point where by the time I was pregnant in my late 30s and had a baby, my body was depleted. My hormones were completely out of balance. I'd had a parasite for a decade, and so I developed leaky gut and a lot of food sensitivities, and then I couldn't sleep. So this is what happens over time, even if we think we are being really healthy. Just our modern lifestyle is not very health supporting, unfortunately. So luckily, though, we can find out what it is that is out of balance in our bodies. And I do this by using lab testing. And I found out for myself that, like I mentioned, I had hormone imbalance. I had a pathogen in my gut. I had liver detox issues. And I got to the point where I couldn't even tolerate alcohol anymore. I had a lot of mineral imbalances and nutrient deficiencies from having an unhealthy gut. So these are the things that can contribute to sleep problems. But this is fixable. We can use lab testing to find out what's going on, and then we know what to fix. And then, yes, change our diet. Yes, take some supplements. Yes, make some lifestyle changes. Work on stress so that your body gets back in balance and you get into a state of health again where you can sleep normally. That's what we want, right? Okay, now let's get into the actual topic for the day, which is all about inflammation. Because if you aren't sleeping, you also have inflammation. And when you're inflamed, then your body constantly releases cortisol to deal with that inflammation because it is an anti-inflammatory hormone. And when this happens, then cortisol also helps you focus. It increases your heart rate and blood pressure. And so and it's a painkiller. So it feels really good to have high cortisol. But it also moves energy away from your digestion and your immune system. Pretty much anything that you don't need for survival, it's going to take energy away from that and move its resources into, helping you run from or fight something. And so that's fine when we do need to run from or fight something, like if we're being chased by a bear in the mountains. But if your body's releasing cortisol at night, then that's going to suppress melatonin and it's going to wake you up. And that's what happens when we have this constant inflammation. So there are three main causes of inflammation. They are food, a pathogen in your gut, and environmental toxins. So I'm going to talk about each one of these briefly. Because the first main cause is food. Diet is so important to our health. And so, again, we can eat healthy, but if you're eating things like gluten and dairy that really tend to be inflammatory and a lot of people are sensitive to, it's going to cause inflammation in your body. Refined sugar and alcohol also causes a lot of inflammation, and processed oils and fats that are in all processed foods also contribute to that inflammation. Even a low carb or a low fat diet can cause inflammation too if that's not the right diet for your body. And again, if you're eating foods you're sensitive to, but even healthy foods, like some people are sensitive to salmon or lettuce, for example, then your gut wall is going to become inflamed. And so to make sure that what you're eating doesn't cause inflammation, you definitely want to focus on eating whole organic foods and eliminate those processed foods with refined sugars and oils, and find out what foods you're sensitive to and avoid those temporarily while your gut can heal. Now, the second main cause of inflammation is a pathogen in your gut. So I know this sounds really gross, but having a parasite like Giardia or a bacteria like H. pylori or yeast like Candida, all of those things cause inflammation, especially at night. These creatures are most active at night, and so that's when they're eating and excreting and releasing a lot of toxins and causing a lot of inflammation. So this is why a big reason why many of my clients wake up around 3 or 4 a.m. and have a really hard time going back to sleep. So to find out if this is what is causing your sleep issues, if it's a pathogen in your gut, you want to do a pathogen screening and get rid of anything you find there. So I use something called a GI map or a gastrointestinal map to find out what's living in your gut. When I say the good, the bad, the ugly, is there a parasite? Is there bacterial overgrowth? All of those things. And so this is a test I do with all of my clients because it can make such a big difference with sleep. Now, the third cause of inflammation is from environmental toxins. So personal care products like shampoo, deodorant, and face cream can all have estrogen-like compounds in them that can be toxic. Same with cleaning supplies. Tap water has a lot of toxins. So do some of the pots and pans that we cook with, and especially that restaurants cook with. Dental fillings and mold are other sources of inflammation too, as well as pesticides in produce and the hormones that are in conventionally raised meat. All of these things add to our toxic burden. So, we are constantly being bombarded with all of these toxins, and a healthy liver can deal with most of these. But if you're constantly exposed to all these toxins and your liver can't keep up, then it's going to cause a lot of inflammation because those things are going to continue circulating in your body. So you really want to do whatever you can to minimize the amount of toxins that your liver has to handle. So you can do that by using more natural personal care products and cleaning supplies, by drinking really high quality filtered water, by limiting EMFs in your home. That's another toxin. Yeah, really by cleaning up your diet and your personal care and cleaning products can go a long way in reducing those toxins. So inflammation is one of the main reasons why people have high cortisol at night. And other things can cause this high cortisol, like low blood sugar and liver detox issues. So what is causing your body to release cortisol at night is different for everyone. Yes, a lot of my clients, there is an issue in the gut, but for some people that isn't the main issue and it's something else. So that's why I do lab testing to find out what's going on and to look at everything that could be contributing to your sleep issues instead of just trying one thing at a time. So Claudella, I hope that's how you say your name, is asking, how do you get your doctor to check your cortisol level? So you can definitely go and ask for a cortisol test. The problem is from your doctor, it's probably just going to be a blood test that's going to just test your cortisol for that second in time. And it's not really going to be a good representation necessarily of if that is a healthy level for you. So I recommend either a saliva, or I like to use a dried urine test where first of all, you're taking multiple samples in a day because your cortisol levels change throughout the day. So ideally it's earliest in the morning and then it spikes really high within 2 hours of waking up. And then it gradually goes down throughout the day. And so knowing your pattern is really important. So unfortunately, most general doctors don't do this. You can ask though and see if they'll do at least a saliva test. But it's going to be more functional medicine practitioners like me who are going to do those multiple samples in a day so that we can see your pattern. And yeah, I would say that that is most important. So I hope that answers your question there. But yes, that's definitely something to look at because cortisol in many of my clients is high at night or high at bedtime, especially if people have trouble falling asleep. So that totally explains why. And then the other tests I do tell us why cortisol is high. So, because that's what we want to know. Instead of just taking something to lower cortisol, we want to get to the source of the problem, right? If it's because of a pathogen in your gut, you can take something forever to keep lowering that cortisol at night, but that pathogen's still going to be there and it's still going to be causing other damage to your body. So you really want to figure out what is causing that high cortisol and address that. So that's why I love the functional medicine approach, because it really gets to the root of it. And my whole goal is for people not to have to take supplements forever, but to really do it in the short term, restore balance so that you can then sleep normally and be healthy without taking things all the time. All right, let me know if you have any questions about this, and I will see you in the group. Thanks for joining, Claudella.